Hello, Rama Puput. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a happy and peaceful life. Now let's continue with devotee Walter Kears. Walter said, "Every word I utter is my true spiritual experience. Nothing that comes from my brain can write poetry. It is all horse language. Only Walter could write like this." Walter remained in the presence of Bhagavan, knowing fully well that he was in the presence of divinity. He says about the experience, "Those first few days were the fulfillment of everything I had ever hoped to find. In fact, I can say it was much more than that. I had lucid, radiant moments in my years of practice. But nothing had prepared me for the possibility of coming into contact with even a portion of this blazing presence of light. No part of my imagination had even conceived that such an experience was possible. There was a radiant power and energy in Bhagavan's presence that effortlessly swept through my mind and matter. His grace silenced my mind, filled my heart, and took me to realms that were way beyond the phenomenal. In his radiant presence, it was so evident that I was not the body and not the ego, and no such analysis was needed. The light radiating from Bhagavan filled my being, sweeping away all the darkness from me in a stroke. For weeks on end, he sat in the presence of Bhagavan, experiencing these waves of ecstasy. He felt the radiance of this light when he was in the presence of Bhagavan, but it seemed to wear off when he went back to his cottage. He strongly felt, "I must ask Bhagavan to make this radiance or ecstasy permanently rooted in me. Bhagavan himself should end the waxing and waning of this experience." So one day he sat away from Bhagavan, but from where he could still see him. He then started bombarding Bhagavan with thoughts. "What is the use, Bhagavan, of your radiance if it is available to me only in your presence and leaves me the minute I leave your presence? Tell me." Bhagavan, however, did not easily give in to these demands. Walter waged not a war of words, but a war of hearts. Walter persevered with the intensity that was characteristic of him even as a child. This is something that we have to learn from Walter. Perseverance is a must for us all. It is not enough to have the experience just for a few days. After some time, Bhagavan slowly turned his attention towards him and smiled, meaning, "What do you want?" Walter was almost in tears because his prayer to Bhagavan had been genuine, sincere. After some time, Bhagavan looked at him again and focused his gaze, his blessings and his grace so powerfully that it touched his heart. Bhagavan seemed to be saying to him, "Walter, you are looking for glasses and they are right on your nose." He was thrilled by the experience and felt waves and waves of ecstasy. He surmised, "This permanency can never be obtained from outside. Anything that is outside is impermanent. It will come and go. The permanent thing that you are seeking, Bhagavan, your Guru, confirms, is like an everyday experience by saying, 'Your glasses, which you are searching for, are right on your nose.'" He felt that the answer had come from the inner Guru, but Bhagavan was also looking at him intently. This is how Walter felt. Suddenly, Bhagavan's eyes emitted light and fire at me. I can think of no other way of describing that immense explosion in his gaze. His powerful look went straight into me, burning away everything that made me think that I was different and separate from him. I felt the right side heart center begin to get warm. The heart center got warmer and warmer as he continued to gaze at me until I felt it to be a hot, fiery ball glowing inside me. It felt as if Bhagavan was charging it with some immensely powerful spiritual electricity because as he continued to look at me, I had the unmistakable feeling that this heart center was some kind of spiritual dynamo that was emitting sparks of light and energy. I felt as if some enormously potent electric apparatus had been suddenly transplanted into my chest. I sat rigid and straight. My eyes were glued to his. Fire flowed from his glowing eyes into the core of my being. How long this transmission lasted, I cannot say. This was beautiful. I had received what I had come for. There was a complete transformation inside out, and it all happened without a word being spoken. That consummation through silence was clearer and more direct than any explanation that could have been given in words. Bhagwan had taken me to the limits of my readiness. I felt that the infusion of grace that Bhagavan had blessed me with on that day would do its own work in its own time. I had received my parting gift from him, and I could have asked for nothing more valuable. Walter went back to his country even though he was aware that Bhagavan was to drop his body. He did not stay because he knew that Bhagavan was not the body. Bhagavan was the light inundating from the heart at all times. Later he returned to India and went to a master in Kerala with whom he spent some years. But all the time it was Bhagavan who was his backbone, the nerve, the root on which every activity was founded. In the 1970s and 1980s, he visited Nisargadatta Maharaj regularly and listened to his Advaitic teaching. Yet he held on to Bhagavan, his Sadguru, in his heart, feeling his presence in the form of light. He toured Europe widely, delivering a lot of lectures. He edited and published many books, spiritual magazines showing the practice side of spiritual teaching. Let's continue the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Pupuda.